talking about transversals and angle pairs. So you're going to be able to identify and name angle pairs created by transversals. So you'll have to know what the word transversal even means. And identify parallel planes and skew planes. So again, you're going to have to know what skew means. You guys know what parallel means. You know what plane means. But skew is probably a new word for you guys. So lots of new words here. All right, so what is a transversal? A line that intersects two or more lines is known as a transversal. So when a transversal T intersects line N and M, 8 angles of the following types are formed. Okay, here. So first of all, it is a line that is intersecting two or more lines. So notice, N is only intersecting one line here. It's actually going to intersect another one over there, so it could be a transversal in the end. But just visually looking at this picture, you only see it intersecting one line, right? Even though it extends on forever. So T is your transversal. And it's because it intersects lines M and M. So it must intersect two or more lines. So in this case, it's intersecting lines N and M. So it is the transversal. So one of the analogies I use, and you guys are going to think I'm crazy, but you probably already think that, so it's not a huge deal, is like thinking of it as like a sandwich. Okay? You're laughing at me already. So M and N are your pieces of bread. Okay? If you sandwich it, T is in the middle of it, right? So T is like whatever, the peanut butter and jelly, whatever it is you want to eat on your sandwich. So you know which one is the transversal based on which one is in between those two lines. Does that make sense? So the two lines are the bread, and the stuff in between is the transversal. So that's how you know T is the transversal. What? You can agree on salami for yourself if you want to. I don't think that everybody's going to agree with you, though. All right. Anyway, so there are lots of types of angles that are formed, and we will be talking about all of those types of angles in the next few slides. So here they are. They're exterior angles. I know. I was going to try to flip it, and it didn't work for me. So there are exterior angles, interior angles, vertical, linear pairs, alternate exterior, alternate interior, and corresponding angles. Which two of those should you already know? There's only two you should know.
Linear pairs and vertical.
Good. So linear pairs, we know, form a line and add to 180. What do we know about vertical angles? Who can tell me what we know about vertical angles? What do you know about vertical angles? Who can tell me what a vertical angle is? They're congruent. So they form an X and are opposite each other, and they are congruent. So those are two things you should already know. We'll talk about the other ones in the slides to follow. So go ahead and get that stuff written down, and then we will keep going. So linear pairs form a line and they add to 180. Vertical angles form an X. They are the ones opposite each other in the X, and they are congruent or the same. Okay, I'm going to be referencing the sandwich a lot during this lesson. I'm sorry in advance. Lindsay, you can laugh at me as much as you want. It doesn't bother me at all. All right, so here are your types of angles. Here are your types of angles. You will need to use your notes on your homework. These are new words to you. Do you understand me? Okay, alternate interior angles are non-adjacent, meaning they are not next to each other. Interior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So they're on opposite sides. Alternate meaning opposite. Interior meaning inside the bread. Don't worry about it. I'm telling you, I'm going to be referencing this a lot. So here are your alternate interior angles. Okay, 4 and 6. I'm using different colors than you might want to. Every day. So 4 and 6 are alternate interior angles. Why? Why are they alternate interior angles? Okay, let's go back to the sandwich reference here. So, which one of these is your transversal? Which line is your transversal in both of these? Which line is my transversal in both of those situations? What? T. Because it is intersecting 2 lines, right? The other 2 look like the bread. Do you guys see that? Sandwiching the salami for Rob over here. Mine would be peanut butter and jelly, but you know, it's all good. So, you have the sandwiching going on here. Okay, the transversal is something you need to be able to recognize. If you can't recognize it, it makes this hard. So T is our transversal. Got it? So alternate means opposite of the transversal. So do you notice 4 and 6 are on different sides of the transversal? In this case, one's left, one's right. In this case, one's top, one's bottom. That's the alternate part of it. The interior part of it is it's in between the bread. So it's in between the other 2 lines. You guys see if I push these 2 together, they stay in between them. If I push those 2 together, they stay in between them. So that is the alternate interior part of it. So you've got to be able to recognize your transversal. So this is my transversal. Okay, just trying to help you see it. I'm sorry. Okay, so again, we have 5 and 3 are our other situations. So there's 2 sets of alternate interior angles. Because 3 and 5 are on opposite sides of my transversal, and they are between the 2 lines there.
You don't know.
Questions on, we're up here. Questions on alternate interior angles before we talk about alternate exterior angles. So get that stuff written down so we can talk about alternate exterior. So alternate exterior are non-adjacent. Again, non-adjacent, not next to. Exterior angles that lie on opposite sides of the transversal. So again, alternate meaning opposite sides. Exterior means outside the bread. So first we need to recognize our transversal. So Devin, what is my transversal in this second set of stuff here? It's still T, right? It's slicing through 2 of the lines. These 2 can be smushed together to be like a piece of bread on each side. So the transversal is T. That's the first thing you need to be able to recognize. That didn't fit there, sorry. So you'll notice, again, alternate means opposite sides of the transversal. 1 is on the left side, 7 is on the right side. 1 is on the top, 7 is on the bottom. So do you see how they're on different sides of the transversal? If you were to push your pieces of bread together, notice that 1 and 7 are outside of it. That's the exterior part. You guys see that? Push your bread together, 1 and 7 are outside of it. That's the exterior part of it. So we do have another set of them. There is another set. And it is 2 and 8. So 2 and 8 are on opposite sides of T. And if you push those together, they're on the outside. Again, same thing. 2 and 8 are on the opposite sides of T. If you push these together, they're on the outside. So questions about alternate interior or alternate exterior angles before we move on to corresponding and consecutive interior. Okay. Consecutive interior, also known as same side interior. So if you do either one of those, that is fine. So when you think consecutive, think also same side, because that helps. So it's saying the same side of transversal on the inside. Inside the bread. So it's on the same side of the transversal inside the bread. So interior angles on the same side of the transversal. So we have 3 and 4. Or 3 and 6, sorry. So notice, first we need to recognize our transversal. So Desiree, what is my transversal in these cases? Which one is slicing through the 2 lines? T is. Now granted, some of these will meet later on, but in this case, we're using transversal T. All right, so it says 3 and 6 are consecutive interior, same side interior. If you're looking at your transversal, they're both to the right of the transversal, so they're on the same side of the transversal. Interior means if you push those 2 lines together, they're still on the inside. If you push those together, are they still on the inside? If you take that one and that one, aren't they going to be on the inside? Oh, I thought you said no. Again, on this one here, they're both below the transversal. If you push these together, they're on the inside. So our other set are 4 and 5. So again, on the same side, this one's on the left, these ones are on the top, and if you push your pieces together, they are inside. So please ask questions. Is anybody confused at anything that I'm saying so far? I'm trying to also not just use the vocab, even though it's important to know those. But the biggest thing is knowing where the transversal is, because we're going to be using this information when we get to parallel lines tomorrow. So you need to know how to identify this stuff. Okay, corresponding angles. So I kind of think about this one as, did any of you guys ever play Foursquare when you guys were kids? Okay, so like you know how there's positions in the Foursquare? So you're in the same position is what I think of as corresponding. So you're in the same position. So if you're talking about like this being a Foursquare here and this being a Foursquare here, 1 is in the same position as 5. 2 is in the same position as 4 is in the same position as, and 3 is in the same position as. So it's being in the same spot as the other one, but it's on a different line. Okay? So corresponding I think of as same position. Again, I keep trying to write with the highlighter. So angles that lie on the same side of the transversal and on the same side of the line. So it makes it a little bit easier to just think same position once you know what your transversal is. So Logan, what is my transversal in these ones? T. Yeah, still T. That will change on your homework. It doesn't always have to be T. So they have to be in the same position. So notice 1 and 5 are both on the same side of the transversal, but we're talking about 2 different lines. So they both have to be touching the transversal, but on the other line. Does that make sense, what I'm saying there? So they're touching the transversal, but on the separate line. They're both in the top left corner. In this case, 1 and 5 are both in the top right corner. Okay? Then we have 2 and 6. 2 and 6 are both in the top right. 2 and 6 are both in the bottom right. They're in the same position. 3 and 7 are both in the bottom right. 3 and 7 are both in the bottom left. And then we have 4 and 8, which are both in the bottom left or both in the top left. So those are corresponding. What questions do you guys have about the types of angles we just talked about there before? Because we're going to use this vocabulary now. When you're ready, flip to those examples. Let me know if you have questions about any of the words. Make sure you're always identifying your transversal before you do anything, or else it makes it hard. All right, so examples here. First of all, let's identify our transversal. What is our transversal in this line here, or in this situation here? What is my transversal? What is my transversal, Carmichael? Go ahead.
Line L.
I think that's an L, sure. Transversal L. So your transversal is transversal L. So give me a pair of alternate exterior angles. So alternate means on opposite sides of L. And outside. So can somebody give me a pair of alternate exterior angles? Can somebody give me a pair of alternate exterior angles? What'd you say?
Oh, I don't know.
Give me a set of alternate exterior angles. Devin?
Angle 2 and angle 6.
So angle 2 and angle 6 are on the opposite side. One's on the left and one's on the right. So that's the opposite side part. Exterior is outside the 2 pieces of bread. Are 6 and 2 outside the 2 pieces of bread when you squish them together? Yes. So angle 2 and angle 6. Those are not the only ones, but those are a set. So I'm going to highlight my transversal with this blue, just so we know that's what we're focusing on there. All right. Consecutive interior, remember, means same side interior too. So we're saying same side and inside the pieces of bread. So give me some consecutive interiors. Can somebody give me 2 consecutive interior angles? Notice they'll always be touching, both of them will be touching the transversal and share the other line. Yeah, Jill? Be careful. Those are on opposite sides of the transversal. 8 and 7, right? So consecutive interior means they are on the same side of the transversal. So 8 and 7 are both on the left side of the transversal, and they're between the bread. So 8 and 7. 8 and 7, sorry. Okay, so then it says identify the transversal and classify each. So 2 and 4, what do we know the transversal is for 2 and 4? What is my transversal for 2 and 4? Greg, what is my transversal for 2 and 4? Which line are they both touching?
L.
L. So do you see how this one's touching G and L, and this one's touching H and L, so they both share L? So that's how you know that's the transversal. It's the one they're both touching. So it's transversal L. And what kind of angles are 2 and 4? What kind of angles are 2 and 4? Look at your notes over there. What kind of angles are 2 and 4? They're on the same side of the line, but they're not both inside. One's inside and one's outside. Which one is this? Yeah. Corresponding. It's like our 4 square, right? They're both in the upper right. So they're corresponding. Okay, Lindsay, what is the transversal for 3 and 7? What is the transversal for 3 and 7?
I.
Yeah, I, L. I can see you guys going either way. It's fine. I understand. So they're both touching. So this one's touching L and G, and this one's touching H and L. So they're both touching L. So it's transversal L. Or I. I would accept both in this case. Bless you. Hayden, what is the relationship of 3 and 7? Yeah, they're on opposite sides of our transversal, so they're alternate, and they're inside the bread when we push them together. Okay, questions there? What questions do we have so far? We're not going to try this on our own. We don't really have time for it. But give me, Kylie, a set of alternate interior angles in here.
2 and 3.
So 2 and 3 are vertical angles. Because they're on, I get why you did those two. They're on opposite sides, but they both have to be inside the bread.
Yeah, 4 and 5.
4 and 5, right? So 2 and 3 were good for the alternate part, right? But they weren't both inside. Do you see that? So 4 and 5 are better. We're using this line here that doesn't have a name as our transversal, this green line here. So you said 4 and 5, right? Or did you say 3 and 6? 4 and 5? So 4 and 5 are opposite on the lines, and they're inside C and D. So 4 and 5. Iku, give me corresponding angles. Give me 2 angles that are corresponding, meaning they're in the same position. 2 and 6 are both in the upper right, corresponding angles. And they're both touching the transversal of that green line there, is what I'm calling it. Green line transversal. Abby, how about, it's hard to identify the transversal, because there's no, let's call this transversal M, okay? So our transversal is M, what are 1 and 8? Good, so transversal M. They're both touching M. They're on the outside, exterior, opposite sides of the transversal, alternate. So that's what makes them alternate exterior. Helena, 3 and 5. What is our transversal? So still M. And what are 3 and 5? Okay, so transversal M, consecutive interior. So again, consecutive meaning on the same side. They're both inside, so they're consecutive interior. Questions on that one?
Oh, there's more.
I know. Not yet. So get that written down, see what questions you have for me. Because they get more challenging as there's more lines drawn in, meaning there's more transversals. It's not just going to always be 3 lines. If we do not have time for the quiz today, it will happen. You are taking this quiz at some point, but we'll just push it back. I don't know.
Because this is taking.
I know. I get it. Okay. Alternate exterior angles along M. So it's telling you your transversal is M. So if our transversal is M, they both need to be touching M, and they need to be alternate exterior. So Ian, give me 2 angles that are alternate exterior angles with transversal M.
Would it be 13 and 7? Would that work?
No, because, okay, so let's start here. Which lines can we ignore? Which line does not matter to us at all? Do you see how this line doesn't matter at all? Because it's not the 2 lines that it's cutting through. So you're only looking at this one. So which 2 are alternate exterior from those ones?
11 and 13.
So those are alternate interior because they're inside of it. We need alternate exterior.
So 14 and 12.
Perfect. So 14 and 12. Because they're outside of P and Q, and they are opposite sides of the line. So, do you guys see how I covered up that line? It's easiest if you cover up lines that don't matter. So, consecutive interior angles along P. So, P is our transversal this time. So, which line can we cover up this time, Gabe? Q. Okay, so give me some consecutive interior if we're covering up Q. Angle 3 and 10 are consecutive. They're on the same side of the transversal, and they're inside. Very good. Sorry. Morgan, what is the transversal to use for 2 and 8? What is the transversal for 2 and 8? What'd you say? Perfect. They're both touching L. So that means that the transversal is L. What kind of angles are those? What kind of angles are those, Morgan? What are 2 and 8? Alternate interior. Good. Emma, what is the transversal for 5 and 13? Which one are they both touching? They're both touching Q, so our transversal is Q. And what kind of angles are those, Emma? They're not both interior, so they're not consecutive interior. They are on the same side of the line. Yeah, they're in the same position. They're both in the upper left, right? So they are corresponding. So questions on that one? Questions on that one? Any questions there? Okay, we're going to skip the try these. I am. Okay. So skew lines are lines that do not intersect and are not coplanar. Thank you, Katie.
Just take your time.
Okay, I will, don't worry. This is important. So these are skew lines. They're not on the same plane, and they're going in different directions. So if you're looking at my classroom, okay, the ceiling tiles have like this metal piece that's connecting them, right? And then the tiles have lines on the floor. So they need to be going in opposite directions. So the line that goes this way connecting the tiles and the line that goes this way are skew. Otherwise, they would be considered parallel.
Wait.
So I'll say that again. Skew. Skew means they're going opposite directions. So this line is going this way, and the one, like the metal on the top, is going like back and forth this way. So they're going opposite directions. Do you guys see that?
Yeah.
So one of them is going to the door, to that wall, and the other one is going from my whiteboard to the back wall. So they're going opposite
So
directions.
basically like this.
So they're like, no. They're not parallel. They cannot be going the same direction. Because if I was looking at this, these two would be parallel if you're looking at them both going the same way. Skew means one's going one way and the other one's going the other direction, but not on the same plane. So parallel lines are planes that do not parallel planes are planes that do not intersect. So what are parallel planes in the classroom? What are two planes that are parallel in this classroom?
Didn't you just say the floor and ceiling?
The floor and the ceiling. Very good. So identify each of the following using the cube. All segments skew to BC. So what is a segment skew to BC? So that's BC. Give me something that is skew to BC. What'd you say?
HE.
HE. It's going in a different direction on a different plane. So HE. Anybody give me another one? Can somebody give me another one that's skew? GF. I didn't ask anybody. So GH is not skew, it's parallel. FE is not skew, it's parallel because you have a plane that's going diagonally through there. That's parallel. Those ones would be touching, 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 parallel, parallel. How about this one? How about DE? Would that be skew?
Sure.
It would be like the corner of the room there going up and down, okay? And this line here going this way. Would those ever meet? No, one's going up and down and one's going left to right, correct? Those are never going to meet. So AF and DE are skew as well. Just give me one segment parallel to EH. Give me one thing parallel to EH. There's more than one, but give me something parallel there. Kylie? I'm sorry. CDH. So this is plane CDH. What plane is parallel to CDH? Which plane is parallel to CDH? So that'd be like this wall here is parallel to that wall there, right? Which is AGF or ABG or ABF. Any of those would work. So plane ABG is what I'm going to say. All right. So we're going to stop. The quiz really shouldn't take you that long.